I don't, let's see, how would I say this? I practice a little bit of everything, and I think it all bundles up, and I think it all helps, ultimately. So, no, one thing is not everything is right, not everything is wrong. Or I should better say that it's not the only way, and that doesn't mean that everything else is wrong. I think that everything that you do, whether it's Tom or Mike, I think it all works.
Right. Yeah. Mike is he's right on the point, right there. He's right. But Tom, his scripts are more like he's starting a little bit of.
Right. They're all platforms and a foundation to have better dialogue. And see, the problem is that most real estate agents don't come from a sales background. They don't. Most agents do not have sales background, and so therefore a lot of agents don't know how to sell.
Right.
They really don't know how to sell, and they think that by saying this and saying that it's going to help them, but really a lot of the times they're putting their foot in the mouth. And we all know that in today's world, these buyers and sellers have more information than most agents do at their fingertips. And so if you're not providing some type of value, or you're not asking the right questions, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna waste a lot of people's time, you're gonna waste your time, and it's gonna be very frustrating for you. All right, well, let's start. So by a show of hands, who likes surprises? Seriously, who likes surprises? You like surprises?
If they're good ones.
Yeah, if they're good, exactly, that's the right answer. So have you ever been on an appointment? Have you ever gone out to show a buyer? Or have you ever been with a seller, family, friend, anybody, where you were surprised and kind of like, oh shoot, I wish I would have been a little bit more prepared for this?
Right.
So at that point, you probably don't like surprises. And so what I'm going to go through today is how do we filter and how do we minimize surprises with buyers and sellers? One, we're getting back the commodity that's most precious to us and to your client. And it shows respect and it shows very high professionalism. And that is by pre-qualifying, whether it's a buyer or a seller. A lot of us are, I don't know what you guys do to find leads, but a lot of people buy their leads, and even then, we don't always get leads. So when we get a lead, we jump on it. We're like, hey, this is a lead. Hopefully nobody else has it. And you start going through a bunch of what ifs. Well, wouldn't it be great to know what exactly you're getting into before you actually spend time to go out there and do it? That way you can focus on more income producing activities. Well, at least that's how I like to do it. And I know most productive agents that are out there that do a lot of business, they pre-qualify not just their buyers, but their sellers. And not just people they don't know, but in people that they do know. Especially because you never know who's interviewing who. You never know how many different agents has this lead. I've been in many situations where I had friends or family call me and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying or selling. Boom, I'm there in a jiffy. I get there only to find out that not only do they have a bunch of questions that I could have been better prepared for, that would make me look better, more professional. It would give me the upper hand, and also it saved time. It make the process a lot smoother. And there's been times where they've even been thinking about another agent, or they've been talking to another agent already. They've been approached by another agent. So the best way to cut through all that, the best way to be fully prepared, is to pre-qualify. So that's what we're going to discuss, is the pre-qualifying. The whole lead generation process, there's a bunch of different ways everybody can get leads. And I mean, in today's world, you can door knock, you can call, you can do social media, you can postcards, flyer, you can do, I mean, there's just so many different ways. We want to make sure that if we're spending our efforts and time to actually go out and try and get leads, that we're making the best use of those leads. And the problem is that people don't know how to convert, or they have low conversion ratios. And the reason, and one of the biggest reasons, is because they don't know how to pre-qualify. No doctor, no lawyer, nobody of any of that type of profession that's making that type of money, who's running on time that's scarce, no one's going to say, hey, I'll take on the deal right then and there, or diagnose you right on the spot. No one's going to do that. They're going to pre-qualify you. They're going to ask you a series of questions. They're going to ask you a series of questions. They're going to get to a desired end result, and they're going to make a prognosis or an analysis based on what they feel that you need, how they can help you. They're going to give you, they're going to accommodate you based off of your your answers. And in real estate, because most people don't have a sales background, they don't know what to ask. It's like, Rick, what do we ask? How do we get prepared? What do we do? And so I have 2 scripts for you guys today. I have one for a listing and one for a buyer. Now, the more you familiarize yourself with these questions, again, these are a guide for you to reference so that you have a platform and a foundation on how to convert more business, and that's or even turn business down, because not every seller wants to sell and not every buyer is qualified to buy. The last thing you want to do is be at that appointment or at that showing, drop what you're doing, and it just doesn't work out. So this will all, having a pre-qualifying script for a buyer or seller will translate, or it will convert more leads, or it will convert more leads into sales or into escrows. It will save you a lot more time, and it will make you look a lot more professional, and in some cases get you the job over others if you're competing. So this has been the foundation to a lot of my listing presentations, and saving me a lot of time with buyers. So do any of you guys use scripts at all right now to pre-qualify? Do you guys pre-qualify at all, any of your appointments, buyers, sellers?
I just started, so.
Okay, you just started, so this is perfect. So I almost want to tell you that, what's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon. I almost want to tell you that you should never go on an appointment again without being pre-qualified. Now, obviously you're new to the business, so you don't have a bunch of business coming in, but when you get to the point where you're juggling 4 or 5 listings, or a handful of listings, and you're juggling a handful of escrows, and you have other clients that, leads that you're working on, the last thing that you're going to want to do is go on an appointment where you spend an hour and a half of your time driving there, going on the appointment, and coming back just to realize, like, dude, that was a total waste of my time. I could have been doing something more productive. I could have been providing more value to my clients, or whatever it may be. So if you're not using a script, these are really good foundational scripts for buyer and for seller. Matter of fact, can we get a copy? Can you make copies of these?
Yeah, absolutely.
For everybody? And then I'll start on them as soon as we get back. And if you're watching this and you want these scripts,
I'll upload them.
yeah, just let Taylor know. She'll upload them. You guys can download them. You guys probably already have these scripts or have a form of these scripts, and so use them. Use them. Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the basic fundamentals of how to use them, how to internalize them, so that you make them yours, so you don't think that you sound robotic, or so you don't sound robotic, and also so you don't have a hard time using them, because the truth is, most people will not pre-qualify because they think they're gonna lose the lead or lose the appointment. Most people think, like, dude, I got this appointment, if I ask all these questions, they're gonna probably cancel me. I've come to find out that, yeah, there's some people that will cancel you. They're like, hey, what's the deal with all these questions? And why do I feel like you're really trying to figure everything out? And if you know the right response to that, you'll convert those people. It took me a long time to figure that out, or not a long time, it took me several to figure those out, is if I had a proper response, that I can convert those. But I'll tell you what, the people that I've pre-qualified and I've gone on that appointment, I've had the upper hand, and I've gotten the contract signed, or I've gotten the buyer converted because I knew their story.
How about if you pre-qualify and you are on the phone, and then you know what they want? They just ending with, they want to see some listings, and you send them a couple houses in the area and the price range that they want.
Right.
Bedroom, bathrooms, so all this stuff, and then you call maybe 2-3 times. They talk general, but they don't wanna. It's hard to get them to the.
They don't want to give you the information.
Not the information. I have their phone number, email address, but to just try to schedule an appointment to really sit with them and then go to the next step to really see what they want. It's just not
Okay, that's a really good question. So, what was your name again?
Rima?
Rayma?
Yes.
Okay, so Rayma asked, what if there's a buyer or a lead that you've you've got their number, their email, you have their information, you're sending them listings, and they don't want to go out and preview property, or they're not basically going on the appointment with you?
Right.
Right. So, and that's a really good question, because that leads me into this. The pre-qualifying scripts do exactly that. They pre-qualify the seller or the buyer's motivation. And that's one of the reasons why you pre-qualify. So some of the questions that you can ask a buyer is, are you pre-approved with a lender? Have you started the process? Are you looking to buy cash? Do you need to sell something in order to buy something? By when do you want to be into your next home? Who's the decision makers in all this? So on and so forth. So you can ask a series of questions. So let's just say, for example, let's just kind of role play this. If you're the buyer and you're like, Rick, you call me on one of my listings, I put it in escrow, and I say, look, it's already in escrow. I can't sell you this one because it's in escrow. We could make a backup offer. Would you like to make a backup offer? And you say, well, not really. I want to buy something now. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So I don't have this one available, but I have some others. Let me send you what I have. What are you looking for? You start asking all those questions to identify what they're looking for. Now, one of the questions I'm going to ask you is, what's your situation now? Are you currently renting, or do you own? Are you looking to rent your house? Do you have a lease in place? By when can you be in your next property? If you tell me, hey, look, my lease is going to end in 30 days. I really want to stop wasting money. I want to be into a property. Great. So I know your motivation. I can use that against you based off. So pre-qualifying is just a series of questions. That's all it is. The problem is that most people don't even know what to ask. If you know a series of questions for sellers and you have a series of questions for buyers, it's like a template. Now you can ask every buyer this. It's like, come on, lead, seller. I ask them all this. Nope, not motivated. Oh, they're motivated. I'm going on that. Or let's get another. Oh, I got a buyer. Let's ask them this. Okay, well, they're not really ready, but let me keep them in a nurture. Let me send them properties. Let me call them every now and then until they're ready. So it allows you to dictate how you can communicate with them. So if you're telling me that you have leads that don't want to see property, that you have to really identify what is their motivation. The only way to identify their motivation is to ask a series of questions. What's your current living situation? What's the reason that you're selling and buying, or why are you buying? And figure it out. And let's just say there's only 3 properties on the market. We all know it's a seller's market. We all know that there's a low inventory. There's not a lot of properties. Maybe there's a handful of properties for this buyer. Now, if they were motivated, I would say, hey, look, you mentioned that you want to be in a property in the next 30 days because of your rental lease expiring, correct?
Yes.
Great. We also know that there's not a lot of properties out there for you. So when we do see something that's worth looking at, I think that it's critically important that we take a look at it, because it's really hard to get the sense of a floor plan or to understand a property online. Now, yeah, sure, we might not like some of the certain things about it, but I think it's critically important based off your situation that we go and take a look at a property. When today or tomorrow can we go and take a look at the property so I can schedule an appointment? So pre-qualifying allows you to ask certain motivational questions to figure out their story so you can put them in the right place. It also allows you to close for urgency or non-urgency. Maybe you're like, I don't need to sell, I don't need to buy, I don't need to do anything. Okay, great. So you don't need to do anything. Why am I speaking with you? Well, I'm just interested in the property. Okay, so let me ask you this. This property is not available. If something else came up identical to it that's ready to go, would you be interested in purchasing it? Wow, I don't know. Okay, that's telling me this guy's not motivated. Or if it's a seller, same thing. If I can get $1 million for my house, sure, your property's worth $750. You know that, right? Well, I'd sell if I can get $1 million for it. Okay, well, you're not really motivated. So the pre-qualifying allows you to figure out exactly what their story is. It allows you to dictate what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. If you want to nurture them, if you want to go on an appointment. So if they're not motivated, the series of questions, these questions in the pre-qualifying scripts, they actually ask those questions. So we know their whole story. And so for example, again, most people don't like to ask these because they think they're going to lose it. You have to make a judgment call on that. If you're not doing a lot of business and you don't have a lot of leads, I'm not going to say don't go on that appointment, don't chase that lead, but it helps to go ahead and pre-qualify them. But I would encourage you, like as a tip, if you're not like just abundantly busy, get out there, show them the property, ask them. But before you do, I would encourage you to ask some questions so you know a little bit about them. That way you look like a professional, you're providing value. You do a little bit of research, more than that what they can do, online or they have at their fingertips, and that way you're prepared. But so I encourage you, for somebody who's really busy out there, they probably know this already. They're probably going to ask certain questions that dictate whether they should waste their time going out there. Not just their time; it's a courtesy to the lead. A lot of these people don't know what the process is, and so they're willing to go out there and do what it takes. But a lot of the times, you can give them a courtesy and say, "Hey, I don't think it's the right time for you," or whatever, based off what I've asked you, and do them that courtesy. And that's always a hard part. A lot of people don't know how to turn down business, but when you're busy, you don't have to tolerate. When you're busy, you can say, "Hey, look, you want to put an offer for $400,000 on this $700,000 house? I'm not the right agent for you." So it is one of the main hangups on. What are the main hangups that you guys would think would be with pre-qualifying? Not sure. Anyone? Location, price.
Motivation.
Right.
Mortgage.
Right. Well, I think. Well, that's all good. What I'm asking is like, the scripts are here. Is there a reason why you wouldn't use them? Like maybe you sound like a robot. You're asking too many questions. You feel like it's invasive. You're interrogating.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm on the phone, I'm just trying to go with very, very special questions that I'm not going to make them to be tired of listening to this series of 10, 15 questions. But then when you're losing it, you feel like maybe because of I didn't did that. So that's what's this effect.
Yeah, and that's good. That's most people have that. They don't want to lose the lead. They feel like they're asking too many questions. It depends. It's going to take you time, but it depends what kind of personality they are. If they're the type of people that are just like giving you all the information, you can ask all the questions, they'll answer everything. Hey, go to town with them. Ask as much as you can. If they're the type of people that are chop, they want to make it happen. You just have to ask 2 or 3 of the main questions. Are you qualified? Are you working with another agent? And if we did go take a look and you liked it, would you write an offer on it? And they say, yeah, okay, great. When can we set an appointment? And they're like, dude, right now. You're like, okay, I can't do right now, but I can do it at 2 o'clock. Are you available at 2 o'clock? Sure, I'm available at 2 o'clock. Great, boom, you go off. That's when I would say like, okay, let's go. But you have to make a judgment call. Again, if you're really busy and you have tons of clients, you might not be able to afford to do that, but you can always refer it out and say, hey, look, this guy's chop, he's fast, he's a driver, he wants something now, he's got the money, he has no agent, he's willing to write an offer if it's the right property. I would encourage you to go on that appointment if you're not busy, and even then, if you are busy, if it's one of your listings, I'm sure you're gonna probably go on it anyway if you want to double end it, because I know I probably would too. So it just really depends on their personality, but for the most part, again, these scripts, the listing script has 12 questions, and the buying script can have anywhere as close to 20 questions on it. It's not to say that you have to use all of these. If you can, great. But these are all foundational questions that can guide you to be more prepared and to save everybody time and to have the best possibility of converting the lead into a deal. Yes?
Sometimes you can read the person too when you're talking to them if they're in a hurry and they don't want too many questions. Have the ones highlighted that are like the most important so you can go directly to those first. But if you find that they're engaging and they're getting to know you and they're answering them fine, then go through them all, because the more information you can get gives you an arsenal of information.
Absolutely.
And that's the questions I have. It says location, price, motivation, mortgage,
learning to read kind of how they are helps a lot.
Sorry about that. Had to get some water. I talk a lot. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So it just depends on the personality. You'll notice that some people like to talk a lot, and then therefore you can ask a lot more questions. And then there's people that just they won't give you anything, and you have to make a judgment call and see what questions are most important. By learning these scripts, you're going to notice that there's about 2 or 3 questions, whether on the buying or on the selling side, that you just need to know and have in order for you to be the most prepared. And so, yeah. So I like to go at least through the listing script, because I think most people have a hang up on that. So I'm going to go through it. Would anybody like to role play and be a seller? Anybody ever been on a listing appointment here? Yeah? Can you be my seller?
Yeah.
You don't have to be on the Facebook Live.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the purpose of this is I just want to kind of run you through it. For whatever reason, whether you're a past client, center of influence, you're an expired, a door knock, whatever it may be, we set an appointment. It's clear, it's in concrete, we have an appointment, whether it's tentative or if it's scheduled in stone, but we have an agreed upon appointment, certain day and certain time. And so you always want to acknowledge the appointment, let them know that you acknowledge the appointment, and then you want to ask them if you can ask them some questions so that you're fully prepared and you make the best use of their time. I can guarantee you in most cases, they're always going to say, yes, I have a couple of minutes, or sure, go ahead. And the better you are at these scripts and the better that you're familiarized with these scripts, the more that you understand these and the more that you can ask all the ghost questions. Like, there's questions in here that I ask there's questions that are not in these scripts that I ask all the time because I need to figure out what's going on here. And so the easiest way to actually go through these scripts is to learn them, internalize them. That way you're comfortable asking them. And you'll notice that most people will actually, be open and actually thankful that you ask all these questions, and it makes you look really powerful when you're fully prepared, especially if you're coming in, all dressed up, professional. You know what you're going to say. You know how you're going to run your whole presentation. This is the best way to do it. So, what was your name again, ma'am? Cherie. Okay, my name is Ricardo. So, Cherie, I appreciate the appointment for tomorrow, Thursday at 4 p.m. Hey, before I come out, there's a number of questions I'd like to ask you. That way I make the best use of our time. Do you mind if I ask you those questions now?
Sure.
Great. Cherie, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, are you open to listing with me when I meet with you and your husband tomorrow at 4 p.m.?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, you're not sure yet, and I can appreciate that. At the same time, what would be the deciding factor in you knowing whether or not you're going to hire me?
But probably based on how fast you can sell my house and
Okay.
for what amount.
Oh, okay, perfect. So if I can get you the right price and I can demonstrate that I can actually sell your home, you're open to listing with me?
Yes.
Okay, I can appreciate that. That leads me to my second question. Other than myself, are you planning to interview any other agents for the job of selling your home?
Well, now that you mention it, maybe I should.
Okay, so you don't have any appointments, you don't have anybody lined up, but you may consider it if I'm not the right agent.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I can appreciate that. Tell me again, where are you moving to?
I'm moving to the beach.
Oh, you're moving to the beach. Good for you. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're selling this, you're buying a property at the beach.
Yeah.
Have you already sat down with a lender to figure out what you qualify for based on the net of this home?
Yes.
Okay, you have. Do you need to sell this home in order to buy that property at the beach?
Yes.
You do. So we're going to be making a contingent sale.
Yes.
Okay, pause. Right away, there's no hesitation in me asking the questions. Right away, I know almost your entire story already. Do you think that I'm going to have, let's just say you do decide to interview somebody else that doesn't pre-qualify. How much of an upper hand do you think that I'm going to have over this other agent? Immediately. It happens all the time. I go against I go against agents that have been in the industry for a long time. Other professional agents that don't pre-qualify or don't have a listing presentation, and I get the job a lot of the times, and I get it at my commission, at my price, because as you'll see when I keep going through the script, you're going to see how prepared I am. This right here is going to let me know their entire story. It's going to let me know whether you're motivated or not, what kind of time frames you're looking at, what do you need to sell, do you need a buyer, you pre-qualified. It's going to let me know if you're looking to interview another agent or if you're not. It's going to let me be fully prepared so I can go in there, give a smooth presentation, powerful, strong, get the right price, get the right terms, most importantly, get the contract signed. That's the power of this the pre-qualification. Now I'm going into the listing presentation because the buying side, there's a lot more gray area in that, but you'll notice if you can do the listing side, you can do the buying side. Very simply. And it takes a lot more skill to do the listing side than it does the buying side. Okay? So, so you're looking to move to the beach, and how soon do you have to be there?
When we find the right home, our child just graduated high school, so we're free to go wherever we want. We just want to find the right home.
Oh, good for you. So it sounds like you guys are making a dream move.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, good for you. So I'm excited about this. So in essence, your son's out of the property, you're ready to make the move, and basically you're looking at listing your home and being in the position to, when you find that right property, pull the trigger and make an offer on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a really good position to be in. And when I see you, how much do you want to list your home for?
Probably right around 700.
Okay, 700,000. And how'd you come up with that price?
Based on what's been selling in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay. So you've kind of been looking on like at Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, all these other websites. Okay, perfect. Well, as a professional real estate agent, I study homes and prices every day. Therefore, I assume that you'll list with me at a price that'll cause your home to sell, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just out of curiosity, what price will you absolutely not go below?
700.
700. So 700 is the threshold. Okay, perfect. And how much do you own the property?
About 300.
About 300,000. Good for you. So you have some substantial equity in this property that we need to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Have you ever thought about selling the property yourself?
I'm glad you're asking this because I always wonder why you would ask this question. No. Yeah, I have.
You have thought about selling it yourself. Good for you. Well, question, how many homes have you sold in the past?
None.
None. You haven't sold any homes in the past. Just out of curiosity, could you afford to leave money on the table by selling it yourself?
No. Well, unless I'm not paying any commissions, then I could afford to leave a little bit of that money on the table.
Okay, perfect. Well, let me ask you this. If you were 100% confident that I can get you more money than you can by selling it on your own, surely you would consider me over selling it yourself, wouldn't you?
Sure.
Okay, great. So there's a lot of questions in here that you're not going to hear, that you don't see, but these are all questions. When I ask you a direct question and I get a gray area answer, like I don't get like a yes or a no, or I don't get a clear answer, I will ask another leading question that will get me the answer that I want. Obviously, it's going to take you a long time, not a long time, but through practice and through repetition, pre-qualifying people and learning your scripts, you're going to eventually learn how to ask good questions. All this does is prepare you to ask good questions. Great salespeople know that sales is asking questions, it's not telling. I'm not sitting here telling you, hey, you shouldn't for sale by owner because you're going to lose money. Did you know that? No, I'm saying, hey, could you afford to leave money on the table by selling it yourself? You said no. I said, great. Another question, if I could demonstrate that I could put more money in your pocket by listing with me, surely you would consider listing with me over selling it yourself, right? These are all questions. Even if it's a statement, we formulate it into a question. Because the thing is, you want to get them involved. You don't want to feel like you're interrogating. That's why you repeat and approve. I agree with you. Great. So you want to sell it on your own. I agreed with you. Sure, I can appreciate that. At the same time, have you ever considered the problem that might pose for you? So I'll agree, repeat and approve, and then I'll ask a leading question that gets me the answer that I want. Ultimately, a lot of people don't know how to sell their house. And if you can demonstrate through a presentation or by being powerful in a pre-qualification that you're actually better for the job, more than likely, they won't even think about it. Okay, great. So, obviously you need the money out to, to buy that next property. Are you in a position where you would be willing to maybe carry some type of the mortgage for the next buyer?
No.
No, okay, so you want your money out.
Yep.
Okay, great. Would you please describe the home for me?
It's a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3-bathroom, 2-story, about 2,400 square feet. Private backyard overlooking the rest of the community. Nobody directly behind me.
Well, good for you. Okay, great. Is there anything about the property that I should know about that maybe would cause it to sell for more, or maybe quicker, or maybe kind of hinder it from selling at top market, or maybe stay on market a little longer?
No, not really.
Okay, great. Great. Okay, well, I'm going to be sending over a package of information. Will you and your husband both take a couple moments and review it before I come out?
Sure.
Okay, great. Are all the decision makers going to be present for our appointment tomorrow at 4 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, great. So our meeting should only take between 5 and 25 minutes depending on the number of questions you have. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. So I look forward to meeting with you and your husband tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call you, text you in the morning just to confirm that our appointment's still good for you. Fair enough?
Sure. That'd be
Great. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye. I'll hang up. So I have to ask you guys a couple questions. One, did it seem intrusive what I was doing? No. Okay, they're saying no. Number two, did it seem like I was professional, like somebody who knew what they were doing, what they were asking? It did, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what are the odds that I'm going to get a contract signed if I have all this?
Pretty good.
Really high. Really, really high. The same thing goes for a buyer. The odds that they're going to put an offer in with you or on that property, they go substantially through the roof because you already know what they're you already kind of know their story. But you have to know their story in order to best serve somebody. Even if it's family or friends, I can't tell you how many people I've sat down with that are family and friends that I didn't ask all the questions and I was kind of like, man, this went south really quickly. And I could have avoided this by being more prepared. And all I had to do was ask certain questions. That's all I had to do. So remember that in today's world, we have to provide some type of value because every seller, every buyer, now more than ever has so much information at their fingertips. And in most cases, I've seen sellers and buyers know more than agents. And those are the ones that ask themselves, why do I need an agent to represent me to buy that property when I can go straight to the listing agent? I don't need you. What are you going to share? What are you going to give me? And the agent is stumped, is dumbfounded. Like, well, they don't even know what to say. Let alone, they don't even know what to ask. So by asking the right questions, you can figure out who they are, what they want, and provide value in most cases. Same thing with a seller. Most importantly with a seller. If they're thinking about going for sale by owner, really dialing in, knowing their story, knowing their motivation, knowing how to use that in a sense against them to get them to move forward with you. This is very powerful. So with this information that I asked, I can create a listing package. I can create all the comps. I can do all the research up front and call you back and say, hey, it's Rick Salazar, Keller Williams. I just had a couple of questions that I was doing some of the research, and I just had a quick question. Do you have a minute?
Sure.
Great. So you mentioned that you wouldn't go below 700,000. I'm having a real big problem here because I'm looking at your property online. I'm kind of doing the preliminary research, and it's telling me that most of the properties in this area are selling at around 650,000. Maybe I'm missing something here. Can you help me out with this? I'm not exactly sure how we're going to close that gap on 50,000. Is there something about your property maybe that I'm not seeing here? that might give you that extra 50,000?
No, actually, the neighbor across the street from me sold for $750, so I don't know which ones you're looking at that was in my cul-de-sac. We're on a private cul-de-sac, we're not on the busy University Street, so.
Okay, so your neighbor across the street got 750. Do you know what floor plan remodel that was?
It was the same exact floor plan as mine, but it was fully upgraded.
Typically that won't happen, $100,000 spread, yeah, you'll probably get like a shift in price. I wouldn't call back if it was a little bit off, but ultimately if it's like night and day, because you're talking from 650 to 750, whole different ballgame. So at that point, I would ask the question, I'll call back, but for the sake of this role play, if it was slightly off, I wouldn't call. I would say, okay, we're a little bit off on price, no big deal. But if we're like night and day, $100,000 off, there's an issue here. So there's something about that property, we have to figure out what it is. And so I would call on that. In this case, just for the sake of the story, they probably wouldn't say it's the same floor plan, more updated, and we're talking, because I would see all that when I'm running the comps, and I'm like, well, this maybe I can get them 725, so I'd be able to just kind of like run the numbers a little bit different. So, but I would call back, and this is what this allows you to do. It lets you to call back, ask certain questions that you have concerns about. It allows you to prepare your whole listing presentation so that you're fully prepared. And it allows you to send a package in advance with everything that you're discussing. Yeah, go ahead.
In the pre-package, you send the comps too?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you don't bring them with you?
So she asked for everybody watching online, if anybody's watching online, she asked if I bring the listing.
The listing package that you sent.
The pre-package.
The pre-listing. So what I do, I don't know what everybody else out there does, but I know that it's extremely powerful. You send the exact same package that you're going to use at the presentation. You send it in advance. You send it preferably a day before, and you send a hard copy. I know a lot of people like to send PDF. You can send a PDF, but I would encourage that you send a hard copy. In the package, this is everything that I put. I put all the comps. I put a listing contract. I put net sheets. I put my resume, and I put my my experience, or not my bio. Well, that would be in your resume in a sense. It would be your plan of action. Your resume. So I'm gonna break down the resume a little bit more. Your resume would have your plan of action, and it would probably have a little bit about you. So your plan of action, you should have a plan of action, and you should have a little bit of information about yourself, and then your experiences, your past solds, or your history of what you've sold or traded. Now, if you're new to real estate and you don't have that, use a company track record. Say, hey, look, in the last month, our company has sold this much. So we're clearly selling a lot of property in this area. You're in the best hands. So you want to send that package in advance, one, because you're sending the comps, you're sending the suggested price in the net sheet, you're sending a contract, you're sending your resume with a track record and your plan of action. They know exactly who you are. You've already demonstrated over the phone that by pre-qualifying, you're a professional. Number two, you send a pre-listing package. That demonstrates that you're also a professional. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the appointment and I've sat down and I've done a 1-minute presentation. I've literally asked them if they're open to listing with me. They said, yes, okay, great, let's get the process started. What price did you have in mind? Okay, great, and we kind of discussed price. Okay, we discussed the terms, boom, we get the contract signed, I'm in and out in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, done. They've decided on me already. They're like, they see me go through the door, they're like, man, this guy's polished. Everything he says is polished, because just like I had a script for this, I have a listing presentation script too. And I don't deviate from it. I go in the door, hi, thanks again for having me over. I'm excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Moreover, getting you to the beach. May I come in? Oh yeah, come in. It always is like that. I come in, I'm not in there, oh, those are nice drapes. I'm like, no, may I take a look at the property just like a buyer would? Absolutely. Okay, great. I'll meet you at the kitchen table. Do you have that package I sent? I do have it. Can you bring it out? That way we can discuss it right now. I'll meet you in 5 minutes. Great. I'll go through the property. You have a great home here. So before I start my presentation, I'd like to start off with 3 really important questions for you. Number 1, do you absolutely have to sell this home? So in other words, what I'm doing is I do a presentation, whether it's over the phone on the pre-qual, because it makes me sound professional. I don't need to ask anything more than this. There's nothing else I need to say. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to figure out if I can help them. The best way to figure out if you can help them is to ask a bunch of leading questions that get you to an end desired result. So we have the pre-qual, scripted, and people are scared of scripts, but the truth is, if you want to be a professional, you better be scripted. Because I can tell you this, every basketball player, football player, baseball player, any professional, anything, whether they're a musician, whatever they may be, they're all scripted. They all have a candid presentation or a system of the way they do things. They all practice the fundamentals. They all basically do the same type of work day in, day out. The professionals master it, and so when they master it, they execute better. And so I can guarantee you, if you mastered your scripts, whether they're prospecting scripts, pre-qualification, and listing presentation scripts, if you're taking 9 or 10 listing contracts out of every 9 or 10 contracts, appointments that you go on, you're going to be considered a professional. Because it's almost guaranteed that you get an appointment, you get the contract signed, or you get the buyer in escrow. So the scripts are extremely powerful, extremely powerful. I get there, I'm polished, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I have a script. My whole listing package is a script. It's all, they know everything from A to Z, what it's going to take to sell their home, who's going to do it, who am I, what I propose to do it, what's the proposed price. Now, when I call back on Thursday morning, like I promised, I call you back and say, hey, so-and-so, I just wanted to make sure that you got the listing package that I sent. Did you get that?
I did.
You did. Wonderful. Did you get a chance to review it?
I haven't yet.
Say yes.
Yes.
You did. Great. Do you have any questions for me before I come out? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. What are those questions?
What is your percent?
That's a really great question. I actually put that in my contract. So a lot of the times they'll say, you know what, I see you're charging 6%. That's kind of a lot. So they'll say something like that, or, I was talking to this other agent, they said they could do it for less. You know what, obviously that's a huge concern for you. I'm gonna make sure that's one of the first things we address. Is there anything else that you have a question about?
Just probably more about your marketing and what you plan to do.
Perfect. Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you have a question about the commission, you have a question about what I do to actually earn the pay, and to get your home sold.
Yep.
Perfect. Those are some of the first 2 things that I'm gonna address at our appointment. So I'll see you at 4 o'clock?
Yep, sounds great.
Perfect. So now by sending the pre-listing package, I know what their objections are going to be. Because I'm a professional and I'm scripted, I have objection handlers. So I know exactly how to handle your objections. I know exactly what to say and how to handle the questions that you have that haven't been answered. Why am I charging you more? I have an answer for that. What is it about my marketing or that is different or superior to the next agent's, or what am I specifically going to do to sell your home? It's usually all spelled out in the package, and a lot of the times they don't read it. So I'll call and they'll have questions sometimes. Sometimes I confirm the appointment and I ask and they go, no, got no questions. Okay, great. So I go out there and and then I get out there and they have questions. I'm like, damn it, I just asked you that over the phone. But at least you're more prepared. The package allows you, I know by the pre-qual, I know what price you think, why you think that. You said you're looking on Zillow, you're looking at some of the solds in the neighborhood, you want $700,000, you're thinking about selling it on your own. I know where you're moving to, what your time frame is. I know why you're moving, because your son moved out, you want a dream move to the beach. I know that if I can demonstrate that my marketing is good for you, and I forget what the other question was, if I can demonstrate those.
It was the percent in the marketing.
Okay, the marketing and the percentage. If I can demonstrate that I'm worth it and that I can actually sell your home, I know that you're going to sign a contract with me. You already told me you did. You were. I know I know what kind of personality you are based off of the question that I asked you on, can you please describe your home for me? I can tell that you're probably a driver. You're probably just like boom, 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 and you're just moving forward with it. Or even then, I kind of know a little bit about your property. That way, I'm not surprised. So with this, I can figure out personality. I can figure out your entire story. That way, when I get there, there's no surprises, because everybody likes surprises until they're the wrong surprises, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So I like surprises too, but when it comes to listing property or going and meeting with a buyer, I don't like surprises. So if you can figure out how to use these scripts, internalize them, and get used to them and comfortable with them, I can guarantee you your conversion is going to go through the roof. You're going to spend a lot. You're going to probably turn down certain appointments because, again, not every seller has to sell, and not every buyer is qualified to buy or wants to buy. Some people are just, they're misled. And this actually puts people in the right place. It shows them where they should be. It shows them that you're professional, and it's not as easy as, it can make it seem very simple, but it can also show somebody who's a for sale buyer or somebody who's thinking about selling their property. It can also show them like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought. Maybe I should leave it in the hands of a professional. Guess what? Who's that professional? You are, because you're the one who's acting like a professional. You guys got any questions for me? Anybody? Somebody? How do I look at the questions on social media? If anybody's watching this.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at this. Okay. How do I pick somebody to go live with?
So they're watching, no questions have appeared.
Okay, no questions. Okay, so nobody has any questions, huh?
What is your conversion rate when you get the appointment to getting the contract?
When I first started, I used to do a lot of cold calling and prospecting when I first started, actually for the last like 4 or 5 years. My conversion was really low when I first started. It was like, I would get maybe out of every 10 listing appointments, I would get about 3 to 4 contracts signed. That just showed me, one, that I was either not pre-qualifying thoroughly, or that I was going on appointments that, basically it comes down to pre-qualifying. I was setting appointments and going on appointments with people that weren't pre-qualified. A lot of that had to do with, I was scared to ask certain questions, primarily because I didn't know the script. I didn't know the script, I wasn't familiar with it, I wasn't used to it, and so therefore I didn't ask certain questions. Or I didn't know how to deal with personalities. Somebody was chop, and they didn't want to answer any of the questions. And so a lot of the times I went off the whim, but I was also not busy at that time. So I was willing to go out there, get my feet wet, and basically figure it out. And so over time, as I started getting busy, I started getting more listings, I started doing this, I started really getting the hang of it, learning my scripts, role playing it, internalizing it. I was able to cut out a lot of people. There's a lot of appointments that I didn't go on. And then my conversion started going higher. My conversion over the last like maybe year and a half has probably been like 7 or 8 listings taken out of 10, which is kind of where you want to be. It's really tough to break like 60%, 65%. Ultimately, I'm at a place now where I turn down business. I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't think that you're ready to sell based off what you told me. Maybe you can help clarify this for me. I may be wrong. And they'll clarify, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe, I'm not the right agent for you. And I'll tell them straight out. They're like, wow, they respect that. They're actually like, okay, well, this person wants $1 million for their $800,000 house. What did you, is it made of gold? I don't understand. So I'll ask questions that ultimately, where I have to figure out and tell them, hey, look, I don't think you're ready to sell. You'd like to sell, I know you would. You'd like the prices to be what they were in 2007, but quite frankly, they're not. At least not in your area. Therefore, if this is the thing holding you back from selling, basically, if you can get the right magical price for it and the market's not there, you're not going to sell. You don't have to sell. Not everybody that wants to sell has to sell. And so this allows you to figure that out. So I've turned down a lot of business in the past. There's a lot of appointments I don't go on, and then there's still appointments where I've gotten so used to it where I may not get everything answered, but I have just based off 2 or 3 questions, I have a good hunch that this person's going to list. I want to be there. I'd rather be there and know upfront immediately if I'm wasting my time or not. And so by having a presentation and everything ready, by having a listing presentation down and sending them a package and asking all that, you'll know immediately. So I can get in there, do a full presentation like in 15, 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, I'll know if they're gonna sign, if they're not, and I'll only do that based off of my hunch. And your hunch grows over time. It's like your gut instinct. It's like anything else that you do in life that you're really, really used to. You know by kind of just analyzing it, like even if it's instinct, like, oh, that's not gonna work out. Or yeah, that's worth going on it, or that's worth giving it a shot, because the odds are a little bit higher. And it's kind of like through experience, you grow through it. So my conversion's gone up. And so you definitely want to get to the place where at least you're going on appointments and using the process. That way you have a better chance. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions? I can't see this. Let me bring this over here, or let me figure out if anybody got questions on here. Is anybody even watching? What's going on here?
Yes, you have 2 people watching, and Barbara Radke said, great class, thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome, Barbara. Barbara, do you have any questions for me? You can be our social media man. Okay, great. So we're at 4:51. This class is supposed to go from 4 to 5. If you guys don't have any other questions, let me know if I can help with anything as far as like internalizing your scripts. Even if you guys have leads now that you guys want to try and convert into appointments, which is obviously the most powerful thing, so that you can use this, let me know. Whatever way I can help, let me know. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for places, groups, websites, or whatever to get a partner or someone that you can practice scripts with in training?
Right now, so I'm part of a role play group. What I would encourage this course, this class, because every now and then we have different people that check in and check out. What I would encourage is you guys to actually switch cards, and I would encourage you guys to set a schedule to role play certain scripts. It's very powerful. I still role play every day. I'm part of a role play group. It's more advanced, through the Mike Ferry organization. A lot of these agents are Mike Ferry, and they're all over the West Coast. But it would be a good thing to start with you guys, because you'll be surprised some of the objections some of you guys give each other, and it doesn't matter your experience. If you can get through these, sometimes they're nonsense questions, but sometimes sellers ask nonsense questions and they stump you. You want to have an answer for that, or you want to be prepared for it. You want to be used to it, because whether you're door knocking, or you're cold calling, or you're meeting with a family member or a friend who knows that you're new to the business, or they think they know it all, or they have all this information, when they ask you a certain question and you don't know it, good luck, because it's gonna bring you down as a professional, and you want to make sure you have a good answer for it. You want to make sure that you're used to getting those type of questions. That way you don't panic. So that's a good question. I would definitely I would switch cards and call each other and figure out a time schedule. Hey, when can we role play? And then you go and find the Mike Ferry scripts, and whatever you're working on, role play it. Whether it's price reductions, the pre-qualification script, just listed, just sold, expired, for sale by owner. You can use all of them. You can even role play open house script. You can role play it all. I do it all the time. Lead follow up, I role play everything. Listing presentation. Yep. Did you have a question?
I was gonna ask, are you signed up for Gold?
I signed up for step 1. I just started this
Okay.
last week, so I will be.
You'll enjoy it, and you will get accountability partners, and you'll do lots of script practicing and cold calling. It's a great class. I suggest it for anyone that hasn't taken it.
Great.
I'll be there. I'll be part of Bold this October.
It'll be my 3rd time in the last 13 months I've taken Gold.
Okay.
I get something
Wow,
out
good
of
for
it
you.
every time.
Good.
So.
Yeah, I'll be there.
That's super powerful, and I know that it works out something like this. I think for the time that you're in Bold, which is like 8 weeks or 6 weeks?
Yes, 7 to 8 weeks, yeah.
7 to 8 weeks for the time that you're there. If you do 2, 3, or 4 deals or something like that, you actually get it paid back for free.
Yeah.
So I think it's like an investment of like $800 or $900, and it's actually going to be somebody from Texas who's coming out from
Yeah,
Texas that's going to be teaching the class.
Okay.
And so it's my first time going to be taking it, but I've done so many seminars and real estate training and neo-linguistic I've done it all. I mean, I've done a lot of it, so it's probably not something that I've seen, but you can always learn.
Yeah,
You
there's
can always
people
learn.
in the class, like Denny Fox, she's taken it like, I think 10 times, something like that. So
Yeah.
she continues to take it because she gets something new from it, it pushes
Absolutely.
it further every time.
Absolutely. So
So
you can take the same course, and so people always ask me too, like, why do you go to all these seminars or all the same seminars? Aren't you learning the same thing? And I'm like, yeah, I am, and a lot of it's repetitive. However, I'm at a different place in my business and my mindset and my growth personally than I was 6 months ago, and therefore, because of that experience, I will hear something different in that same amount of information. I will hear something different that I'm going to apply to my business. Next thing you know, you're 5 years in doing the same stuff, but yet you've had an opportunity to implement this, implement that, implement this, and you keep growing. And the truth is like, you're not going to implement everything. And when you get to a certain seminar or you go through a certain course like Bold, certain things are going to resonate with you. Certain things you're going to implement. You're going to be like, man, I'm going to use that immediately. And a bunch of other stuff you're not, because your business is not there yet. Then you get to Bold in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you're like, man, why wasn't I using this at first? I'm already past this stuff. I'm already doing all this stuff. I'm implementing that in my business already. Now I can focus on the business part of it or this part of it. Every time you go, you learn something different. Every single time, or not that you learn something different, or it just stands out or resonates with you. You adapt it at a different part of your business. I highly encourage whatever kind of training it is, whether it's Bold. I've never done Bold. I've been with Keller Williams 3 years. I've been with Mike Ferry for 5 years, I think, coaching and everything. So I've done a lot of that, just scripts, dialogue, cold call, prospects. So I've done a lot of it, and I've done endless amount of seminars. But I always go to certain seminars and certain, like Bold. I'm open to it. Why? Because I know that the education is important. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for all the scripts, the education, all the courses, all the training that I did. Absolutely. Great. Okay, so I think that kind of like sums it up. It's 4:57. I hope if you're watching that you enjoyed this. Make sure if you have any questions, reach out to me. You guys can find me on Facebook, Ricardo Realty, Ricardo Salazar. I'm with Keller Williams. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo, it was very
Really
good.
Thank you. I think I was going fast because I had a lot of green tea.
What's the website that was it just the Westlake Keller Williams office where you were watching the Facebook Live?
Yeah, it's the Westlake